Hello and welcome to the PEM podcast, the Psychic Eye Mystery Podcast, episode number 10. Wow, 10. Woohoo! We hit like almost a decade. Boop, boop. I'm here. I don't know. Just a number 10. I don't know. I'm winging it. This is the
PEM not working.
podcast where we
It's
just
not
wing things.
working.
Yes, we're so organized. Winging. I'm your host, Victoria Laurie. Here with my fabulous sister, Sandy, my sidekick. I'm the psychic. She's the sidekick. Yeah, it works. In my head, it does. Sandy's just shaking her head.
It's the way we start the podcast. You just start rambling and then I shake my
I
head.
do.
Yeah.
It's weird because like I know I'm speaking to like an audience, but not to have them in front of you. You know, it's kind of like, it's like when you call and leave a voicemail and you keep asking the person, okay, so I'll call you back. Okay. We're going to meet up. Okay. You know, you don't do that. Oh, come on. You do. Oh, fuck off. Come on.
I'm gonna go back and listen to your messages from now on. Like, oh, look, here she's pausing again, saying, okay.
I do. I ask hey, it's me, do you want to call me back?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Like, I'm asking questions as if you're going to answer me. And in my head you do. So,
Okay, good. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. The voices in my head are telling me that you are answering. So anyway, okay. So guys, we have actually a really juicy PEP podcast. We've got two cases that could be linked, and Sandy's going to give you that sort of version where they really could be linked. And then I will tell you, I'm so excited because as I was reading Sandy's synopsis, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna pull anything out of this at all. And then sat down, with it, and it laid out kind of moment by moment for both of them. And
Wow.
I was like, wow, okay, all right, I know exactly how this went down. And it's tragic and sad, but cool that I think I figured it out. So yeah. Okay, but first we are going to do book promotion. What? So this is this 8? I think this is 8. I'm doing Sense of Deception, which is, I think, the 8th book in the Abby Cooper Psychic Eye Mysteries series. This is, I know we keep saying, oh, that's my favorite. No, that's my favorite. But I really, really love this book. I loved writing this book, and it was based on a true story. It was, so basically the premise of the book is that Abby gets thrown in the clink because she smarts off to a judge, and he throws her into contempt of court, and she gets thrown in the slammer. And because there's no room at the prison, she gets thrown in with a woman who's on death row. And in talking to this woman, she discovers that this woman was accused and convicted of murdering her 11-year-old son. And Abby, picks up that this woman didn't do it. She's innocent. So when she gets out of the clink, she goes on a quest to try and find out who the real killer is. And she's up against the bricks because Skylar, who's the mother, is scheduled for execution. So Abby's got to solve the mystery. Comes down to like the final hour too. Of course it does. Hello, it's my book. So yeah, but the premise of the book is based on a true story that I saw, oh my God, 30 years ago, a little blip of something on,
Dateline,
true crime, something 30 years ago. And it was a mother she was a single mother. She had a son, and in the middle of the night, her son was stabbed to death in their home. And there were no footprints coming into the house and no footprints leaving the house, only hers. Hers were the only footprints. So she was accused of murder. And she was kind of going down for it. She spent some time in jail, and then another, the guy who did it was put away in jail for another crime, and he confessed to an inmate that he had murdered this kid because the mother had snubbed him in a record store. They were in a store, they were buying CDs, and this guy had sidled up to her son and they were looking through and they started talking, and she got a creepy vibe off of this guy. So she pulled her son away, and he followed her home and murdered her son in revenge. So, and that story always bothered me. Well, because, you never know when just like the smallest thing is going to ignite something that you couldn't have foreseen, and that you would never expect, like, that someone would snap, or someone was that crazy that they would climb in through a window and murder an 11-year-old just because a mother was like, I don't trust you with my child. I don't know you, stranger, So it always bothered me. So I had things that like that bother me, little stories like that bother me. I always find a way to write about them because it's so upsetting to me. So if I can make it work out in the book, then I think I feel a little bit better about it. So little games we play with ourselves. Anyway, Sense of Deception, book number, I think it's 8. I don't know.
Is the dedication, is that the one where you dedicated it to Cal, or you mentioned Cal, or the attorney's name is Cal?
Pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah, pretty sure. Let's see, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, okay. So this is number 13 in the series. Huh. Really? Okay. I guess it's a little up there, a little further up there. Yeah. But yeah, so we had Sandy had a really dear friend who was an attorney.
Is an attorney.
Oh,
Still
is an
is
attorney.
an
Sorry, is an attorney. Is an attorney. He's still an attorney. Really great guy. And I wanted, because he's been so good to my sister. I kind of put him in the book. It was like,
I am not wanted by the police. Let's just be clear. That was not his role in my life. But
no embarrassing stories, we're told.
No. But he is the kind of attorney you want at your side because he's 6'4" and is imposing to anybody on the opposite side of the bench.
Well, especially someone who's 5 foot nothing.
Yeah,
as
we make
I
a cute
wonder
couple.
who that could be.
We make a cute couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, all right.
Okay. And then anecdotes. I've got a couple of like little quick ones that I've kind of been gathering because I wanted to, like, there's like a really cool little thing that happened here, really cool little thing that happened there. So I wanted to kind of lump a couple of these together. So I read for one client, I think this was a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. And she was widowed and her father came in and then her husband came in. And I kept getting Robert Bobbert. So I said that to her. She goes, my husband's name was Robert. He went by Bob. My father's name was Robert. He went by Rob. Robert Bobbert. Which I thought was really adorable. And then she, I think this was the same client. I just write down on cards, like any little cool thing that I pull out. But she wanted to hear from her grandmother. So I pulled her grandmother in and her grandmother gave really, really good proof that it was her. And then, so my client asked, she said, what does my grandmother think of my tattoo? And I'm like, damn it, I hate it when they ask me stuff because of the pressure, right? Like I have to come up with what the tattoo is, right? So I'm like, okay, grandma, what do you think of the tattoo? And I didn't really get an opinion. I just got squiggles, right? These little squiggles. And I said, I think she's okay with it. Did you get like a squiggle? And she holds up her arm and it's her grandmother's signature. So it was a bunch of squiggles, which I thought was so cool, right? I was like, it's probably going to be a hummingbird, I'm like,
was it legible?
Is it a butterfly?
Was it a legible signature or the way I sign my name, which is like,
oh my God, the straight line, the check straight that you sign with. Yeah, no, it was a little more legible than that, Sandy. I mean, like if anybody ever asks a medium, does my mom like my tattoo? And it's your signature, it's going to be like, I don't know, it's a flat line. Looks like a dead heartbeat. Yeah.
There is a reason behind that. It's like trying to corral twin boys as they run around in a store, ripping apart, displays. And I'm trying to sign
a big truck and trying to run for the exit.
Right. That too. And I'm trying to sign my name. So I just learned to shortcut it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I love to each his own, right? And then I had another one that I thought was really, really beautiful. This woman's mother came in and this mother was so loving. She was so loving. And you can feel it, when these energies come in and they're just so excited. and to connect with their kids. And it's just an outpouring of love. And it's really beautiful to kind of sit in the middle of that and be the receptor of that to kind of convey it to my clients. But anyway, so the mom was talking about my client's sister. And she kept showing me this image of her sister, my client's sister, looking at the mirror. And on the other side of the mirror was her mom blowing kisses at her. I don't know, just blowing kisses at her. It was so sweet. So I said, your mom just keeps blowing kisses at your sister, from the other side of the mirror. And it turns out that the one heirloom that the mom left that sister was a full-length mirror. Beautiful, right? So beautiful, like amazing, 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 amazing. And then, oh, this one I had last night. So I have one of my absolute favorite clients. It's a couple, and they've been with me for, I don't know, 11 years. And I absolutely, absolutely love them. I get so excited whenever they show up on my calendar, because they don't care what I have to say. They just care about like hanging out with me for a half hour. It's awesome. Anyway, one of my clients has cancer. And it's, metastatic, and it's, not great. But this was the first time I'd ever opened up mediumship wise for her, and her mother, came right at me, which was awesome. And her mother showed me, and it was so clear. She showed me like her mom just standing in the center, and then around her were these white angel wings, like dozens of them, dozens of angel wings. So her mom
Really?
was like
Wow.
doing this whooshing kind of motion. So what I got from that was that her mother's trying to bring in some healing energy, some angelic healing energy. And it just was like the room was filled with these giant white angel wings. And it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. So I don't think that, there's going to be a miracle, but I think, it's nice. It's nice to be looked out for from the
And
other side.
maybe offered some comfort too.
Yeah. I hope so. I hope so. Okay. And then I'm going to get on my soapbox. And I know y'all, Sandy's like, oh shit, really? We're at that stage again? Yes, I'm on my fucking soapbox. Okay, first of all, let me say this, okay? I send out my predictions twice a year. You do not have to email me and announce your exit. You don't like what I have to say? It's okay to just unsubscribe. Really, really. You don't have to fill up my fucking inbox with, all the ways that you hate my guts. Truly. You can just segue out the door. That is fine. Okay, that's one soapbox. Really pisses me off when people do that. It's like, why? Like, why? Just go away. Just go away. And it just leaves a really bad taint on an effort that I put a lot of time and energy into. And it makes me like, why do I even do this if my inbox is filling up with this hate and bullshit? Just spread kindness for once, people, like stop with this hostile bullshit for anybody that has an opinion that is different than yours. Stop it. Go spread some love, period. Stop filling up my inbox. Anyway, okay, that's one soapbox. Second soapbox, and this one, you think I'm mad at that one. I was apoplectic over this one. Read for this woman, Sandy. She's hiding. She's hiding. She's like, the chair goes down underneath the desk. She's pulling a Costanza. Okay. I read for a woman, and the very first energy, like I couldn't even ask her to say her full name and her birth date, because her mom hit me like a freight train, just right. And when that happens, it's really hard for me to keep talking because I'm so distracted by this energy kind of hit me in the face, and it doesn't hurt at all. It's just so powerful. So I was like, you don't really even need to say your full name, birthday, your mom's here, blah, 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 right? So mom gave some absolutely undeniable proof that it was her. And it was, fabulous. And then she was pulling in other people, the father and the sister, the aunt, and all of this stuff. It was like a family reunion. It was fantastic. We get to the end, and my client says to me, I'm so glad you pulled my mother in, because my sister went to and I'm using quotes, psychic, okay, who told her that our dad was okay, but mom was lost and wandering somewhere out there in the, ether. Okay, here's the deal, guys. You ever sit down and have someone say something like that to you, stand up, take your money back, and walk out the door. That is such fucking bullshit. This woman upset my client's sister to the point where she was inconsolable. Why would you do that to someone? Why would you do that to someone? And mom's energy, I'm telling you, you don't even have to be psychic to get this woman's energy. She was that powerful, right? And of course she's hitting me with a ton of bricks because her poor daughter's been told otherwise, and she's fine. And she's been fine from the moment she started, from the moment she transitioned, she's fine, fine. People, you die, you go over, period. Okay, you go over, you're fine. Okay, if you're worried about a loved one who has passed on, let it go. They're okay. They're always okay. The other side where consciousness survives, that's home. That is home. You don't need to worry. And if someone tells you that they're wandering lost somewhere in the wilderness of, not the other side, but kind of the other side, give them the finger, stand up and walk out. Truly, truly. And I asked my client, I said, please send me the name of this psychic because I want to give her a piece of my mind. And of course she didn't. Of course she didn't, but if I ever find out, oh, we're having words. We are having words. Why would you do that to someone? I mean, this happened, I think, like a couple months ago, and this poor sister has been so distraught because her mother was they were so close. They're all, these women in this family were so, so close. And for this woman, to fuck with that just because she could. Again, stop spreading fucking hate. Be nice, be kind, stop it. Okay, I'm off. I'm done. That's my soapbox.
I particularly enjoy stop fucking spreading fucking hate, which, I feel the love. I feel the love. I'm just saying.
Hey, it's not my job to use, a light word or a nice word. It's my job to use the correct word.
I'm not saying it's an incorrect word, but it's kind of contradictory to spreading love. Fuck you. Okay, so we're good.
Yeah. I will be totally nice to you and sweet and kind to you until you do something to me, my family, or someone that is going to be made upset by it, that you feel you have power over. And then gloves come off. I don't tolerate bullies. I don't tolerate people who are cruel to animals or children or to each other for no reason. Stop it. We have enough hate in this world. Start spreading some love. And if you don't like what I have to say in any of my newsletters, hit that unsubscribe button. You do not have to announce your exit. You can just go. It's okay. Truly.
If you do like the newsletter and want to share with friends, by all means.
Yeah, but don't have your friends email me. Okay. Just don't reply.
Forward the email to build the subscriber list.
Yeah. There was some good. I finally sat down and got through it. I think there's some good stuff in there. There's some good meat in there. I have to, it's the age we live in right now where I can't not talk about politics because it affects everything, right? It just affects everything. So I try and step to the side of my opinion, and I try and just look at the energy and where it's laying and what's happening and how it's unrolling. And, I have never been shy about my political leanings. I lean liberal, absolutely. But I actually lean moderate liberal. I don't lean too far left. I try and set that aside. And you may see bias. That's fine. Again, don't have to announce your exit. It's truly okay. You can just go.
I think we've made that point clear.
Okay, good. No, I'm serious. I had like 12 nasty emails. Just nasty. Stop. It's not personal.
Let's everybody just be a little bit more Betty White. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
A little bit more
Exactly.
Betty
We need
White.
to fill that void, right? You just need to be a little kind to each other and not, and get Betty White her fucking coffee.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, that was a cute little sketch. Okay, since these I am so excited to give you what I got on these. So it's the Sans is going to read the Bricka family murders that took place in 1966, the year I was born, and the Lonnie Trumbull and Lisa Wick assault and murder. So also in 1966, were they related? I will give my opinion. Okay, take it away, Sans.
So before I get started, I wanted to say thank you very much to your client, Mary Douglas, who
Yes.
brought this case to our attention.
Yeah.
And I was intrigued enough after sort of doing a quick Google search about the Brickas to feel like there was a very worthy story here. And so
Yeah.
thank you, Mary, because it really is a very fascinating case.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Really, this was awesome. Truly, this was awesome. And Sandy, you did such a good job writing this up.
All right. Well,
So-
before you like spoil the story.
You know that line that you put in there about that thing? When that thing went thing? Yeah.
All right. So
I liked it.
here we go. The Bricka family murders. In September of 1966, a young family of 3 were found murdered in their Bridgetown, Ohio home. No one heard a struggle. No weapon was found at the scene. No evidence pointed to a suspect. And no one has ever been charged in the savage slayings of the Brickas, Jerry at age 28, Linda at age 23, and their daughter Debbie at age 4. Born on January 25th, 1938 in San Francisco, California, Gerald John Bricka, he went by Jerry, was the first child of Elmer and Dolores Bricka. The well-to-do Bricka family had settled in San Francisco in the 1850s, and the family's wealth passed down from generation to generation. Jerry graduated from St. Ignatius High School in 1956 and then went on to study chemical engineering at Stanford University, earning his degree in 1960. He quickly landed a job at Monsanto and left California to work in the company's Seattle, Washington facility. On January 4th, 1943, Linda Jane Beulah was born into a well-to-do family. Her parents, Adolph and June Beulah, raised Linda in Barrington Hills, Illinois, which was an upper-class community 35 miles northwest of Chicago. Adolph helmed the Beulah Welding and Engineering Company, a firm he started in 1935 that had prospered during World War II through lucrative government contracts. Linda attended Barrington High School, where she graduated in less than 4 years and at 18 became a flight attendant for United Airlines. Linda was known for her beauty. The combination of her sharp features and alluring brown eyes with her tall, shapely figure constantly attracted the attention of men. So it wasn't surprising when Linda caught Jerry's eye while he was traveling on business from Seattle. Jerry, at 5 foot 10 inches and 170 pounds with broad shoulders and arms of a swimmer, used his handsome face, quick smile, and friendly disposition to his advantage and captured Linda's attention. The couple quickly fell in love and were married on November 25th, 1961. And according to Jerry's sister, Linda was very well liked by the Bricka family and felt that Jerry had found a good match. Less than a year later, their happy union produced their first child, Debbie, who was born on June 9th, 1962. In 1963, Jerry moved the family to Ohio into a small split-level 3-bedroom single-car garage home on Greenway Avenue in the Woodhaven subdivision of Bridgetown on the west side of Cincinnati, Ohio. The home was conveniently located near the Monsanto plant where Jerry was now employed. The Bricka's neighborhood was full of similar homes built in the standard architectural style of the 1950s Midwestern suburbs. It was a seemingly idyllic, safe neighborhood for this young family with homes about 15 feet apart and neighbors that frequently gathered on their front porches to chat and watch their children play. Few residents locked their doors at night, and the Green Township Police Department only worked 14-hour days. While their neighbors found the Brickas to be cordial and frequently joined in on neighborhood block parties, basement rec room gatherings, and backyard parties, the Brickas were also known to be somewhat aloof, especially Linda, and tended to keep to themselves. However, one neighbor in particular, Nettie Caldwell, knew Linda better than the other neighbors because Nettie's daughter, Darlene, frequently played with Linda's daughter, Debbie. Unfortunately, the first few days of the last week of September 1966 would turn this idyllic neighborhood into the scene of an unsolved, ghoulish murder mystery. On Sunday, September 25th, with rain falling and outside temperatures in the high 50s, Jerry attended 10 o'clock mass at St. Eulias Church and then went on to work at the Monsanto Plastics facility on River Road in Addison. Dedicated to his job, it wasn't atypical for the 28-year-old to work on the weekends. and at around 8 p.m. on his way home, Jerry stopped at the United Dairy Farmers on the corner of Bridgetown and Aurora Avenue, bought milk, and drove the last mile to his Greenway Avenue home. The house was well lit with welcoming lights, and upon arrival, Jerry found Linda folding laundry and watching TV with Debbie in their first floor rec room. Remembering that Monday was trash day, around 9 p.m., Jerry went back outside to haul their trash cans to the curb and encountered Joan Jansen, a neighbor from across the street who was out walking her dog. After Jerry and Joan exchanged hellos and talked about the weather, Joan and her dog walked on and Jerry returned inside. That was the last time anyone reported seeing Jerry alive. By Monday morning, the 26th, the weather had turned warm and sunny, and a typical fall Monday ensued in the neighborhood. The men went to work, wives got their kids off to school, papers were delivered, and the garbage trucks collected the trash. At the end of the day, some neighbors noticed that the Bricka's trash cans had not been brought in. Unusual because Linda was diligent about getting their cans off the curb once emptied by the trash collectors. Oddly, Jerry, who was expected to travel to West Virginia with a colleague, missed their flight. And after calling Jerry several times with no answer, the colleague went ahead with their company travel plans. 24 hours later, the Bricka's garbage cans were still on the curb, and 3 newspapers, the Monday and Tuesday evening papers, as well as the Tuesday morning paper, sat in the yard. Their porch and house lights had been on all day Monday, through the night, and into Tuesday evening. No one had seen Linda or Debbie out in the yard with their dogs, Thumper, a Cocker Spaniel, and Dusty, a poodle. Neighbors began to worry when they realized that after being quiet all day, the dogs were now barking loudly from inside the Bricka home. Based upon this unusual behavior, Betty Meyer convinced her husband, Dick, that something was wrong. Dick called Monsanto and asked for Jerry, but was told he hadn't shown up for work for 2 days. Alarmed, Dick called neighbor Dick Jansen, and the two went to the Bricka home sometime between 10 and 10:30 p.m. When knocking loudly on the front door resulted in no answer, Dick Meyer opened the door and immediately encountered a foul, putrid smell, like the stench of death. After quickly closing the front door, they made a call to the police. Shortly thereafter, red emergency lights lit up the typically quiet street. Officers from the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department, the Cincinnati Police Department, and paramedics from the Mac Fire Department gathered in the Bricka home only to discover the dead bodies of Jerry and Linda in the bed of their master bedroom, and little Debbie dead in the bedroom she had next to her parents' room. Jerry had a sock stuffed in his mouth and 9 stab wounds in his back. Linda was found face up, lying on top of Jerry with a total of 8 stab wounds to her chest and abdomen. Debbie, dressed in her pajamas and wearing 1 white sock, had been stabbed in her tiny back 4 times through and through. Their 2 family dogs had been sedated on the night of the murder and were found unharmed, locked in the basement. An autopsy revealed that the primary knife wounds in both Jerry and Linda were 7 inches deep, and the position of their wounds, Jerry's left back and Linda's right front, seemed to indicate that the murders were committed by a left-handed person. Also, Linda and Jerry had both been bound at some point during the attack prior to being killed, but the material used, possibly medical tape, was removed from their bodies. Only a small piece of tape was found in Jerry's mouth, where he'd been muzzled with a sock. The weapon used to kill the Brickas was possibly a carving knife from a set displayed in the dining room, although no weapon was found at the scene. The Monday Inquirer newspaper, which usually arrived around dawn, was missing among the newspapers on the Bricka's front yard. It's possible that the killer wrapped the murder weapon in the newspaper and plastered it in the trash cans by the curb, which were emptied that morning. If that holds true, then it's likely the killer was in the house through much of the night and used the time to clean up any incriminating evidence. Other than Jerry's wallet, nothing of value was taken, so police were quick to dismiss robbery as a motive. Although the triple homicide shocked the neighborhood and made people in this serene suburb afraid for their safety, authorities also ruled out that the murders were caused by a serial killer, including that of the Cincinnati Strangler, as no other murders in the area fit the same pattern or profile. The police believed that the family likely knew the murderer because there was no sign of forced entry or struggle, and the nature of the wounds the family suffered were personal. As one investigator observed, it was overkill. An extensive investigation spearheaded by the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office ensued, which included 400 plus interviews with anyone remotely connected to the Bricka family. As the investigation wore on, 2 emerging theories were considered, both of which centered around Linda. At the time of her death, Linda, who was passionate about animals, was working part-time for Dr. Fred Leninger at his veterinary hospital on Glenway Avenue. Circumstantial evidence pointed toward Leninger as the murderer. He was known to have occasional affairs with attractive young women, and witnesses tied to the case and testified that Linda seemed to have had an intimate relationship with a male friend. Further, Leninger would have had easy access to the type of medical tape found in Jerry's mouth and drugs to sedate the Bricka's family dogs. When several people reported seeing Leninger acting strange and erratic at a nearby convenience store on the night of the murders, investigators brought him in for questioning. While they found the results of Leninger's interview suspicious, he successfully eluded further investigation after hiring lawyer Richard Moore. Dr. Leninger ran his successful practice until his retirement in 1995, and in 2002, he and his wife celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. Yet despite this seemingly successful and happy life, Leninger and his wife, Lynn, committed suicide while together in a Cincinnati hotel room. The second theory regarding the family's murder was based upon neighbor Nettie Caldwell's observation that Linda had seemed particularly nervous a month or so before her death. The Caldwells lived a few doors up the street from the Brickas, and routinely Debbie had been free to run between the two homes to play with Darlene whenever she wanted. But by late summer, Linda asked Nettie to call her when Debbie was done playing with Darlene so that Linda could walk her daughter home. Nettie told investigators that she thought Linda's fears may have been related to the unsolved assault on two United Airlines flight attendants, Lonnie Trumbull and Lisa Wick, who coincidentally were Linda's former airline crew and roommates. Lonnie was bludgeoned to death and Lisa was severely beaten but survived. After being in a coma for several weeks upon recovery, Lisa had no memory of the attack, and Lonnie's murder was widely thought to be at the hands of the serial killer Ted Bundy. However, no specific evidence ever linked Bundy to the murder, and he went to his death denying it. Instead, it could be possible, although far-fetched, that the murders of Linda Bricka and Lonnie Trumbull and the attack on Lisa were related to Linda's help in breaking up a drug ring during her time as a stewardess. Other theories about the intent behind the Bricka family murders include Jerry was having an affair, that the killings were tied to Jerry's job, or that only one of the victims was the intended and the other two murder victims were part of a cover-up. Others have speculated that the murders were a professional hit, possibly by someone tied to the mafia. Additionally, there are many rumors that have swirled around the inability by the police to solve this now 55-year-old case, that it was either grossly mismanaged by law enforcement or the killer was a high-placed person whose connections kept him from being prosecuted. Beyond intent and the culprit, questions yet to be answered also surround how the murderer committed the crime. How was he able to tie up two adults while holding a knife? Was Debbie a witness or a hostage? Who was killed first? Why were the victims tied up, stabbed, and then untied? Was the murder weapon from the Bricka family's kitchen, and what became of the weapon? To date, there is no forensic evidence in the case file tying anyone to these murders, and while the case officially remains open, there's little hope after 55 years that anyone will ever be held accountable. My sources for this portion of the story come from Cincinnati Magazine, Death on a Quiet Street by Jack Heffron, April 1st, 2008. Cincinnati.com, a city's most enduring murder mystery, the Bricka family massacre, Amber Hunt, Cincinnati Enquirer, December 18, 2018. And the Chavoy Gazette, the Bricka family murder, Who Do You Think Did It by William Monier, March 29, 2019, which was updated May 4th, 2019. So then being curious about whether or not this connection actually existed between Linda and Lonnie Trumbull and Lisa Wick, I went further and sort of dug into the story around them. So here's what I came up with. In the early morning hours of June 23rd, 1966, sometime between midnight and 3 a.m., 20-year-old roommates Lisa Wick and Lonnie Trumbull were brutally bludgeoned as they slept in their Queen Anne Hill, Seattle basement apartment. Both women were working as flight attendants for United Airlines at the time of the attack and had only been in the apartment for a month, with plans to move to another unit later that week. A third flight attendant roommate, Joyce Bowe, came home later that morning at around 9:30 a.m. As Joyce entered the apartment, she noticed that the front door was unlocked, which was unusual, and a lamp was still on in the living room. After getting no answer to her called out greeting, she stumbled upon a horrific scene. Both of her roommates, still in their beds, were covered in blood, their bed pillows and bedroom walls coated with blood spatter. When police arrived, it was determined that both women had been repeatedly and viciously clubbed with a blunt object, though neither had been sexually assaulted. Lonnie Trumbull was pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital. Likely saved by her hair colors that she'd worn to bed that night, Lisa Wick survived the attack and subsequent surgery to repair her multiple skull fractures. Veteran Seattle Detective Sergeant Herb Arnold said that a 5-pound bloodstained piece of lumber measuring 3 inches thick and 18 inches long, apparently taken from a nearby open garage, was found in a vacant lot next door to the apartments and seemed the likely murder weapon. Police believe the attack was motivated by vengeance, as the nature of the attack was not sexually motivated, nor likely committed by a casual prowler. 4 days after the murder, police had questioned nearly 100 friends, acquaintances, and neighbors in several cities without any viable suspects emerging. By July 14th, Lisa had recovered enough to tell the detectives about what she had recalled about the attack. She stated that she was awake when the intruder entered through the front door and had bludgeoned Lonnie. Lisa claimed to have caught a glimpse of the assailant before he turned on her. She described him as a white male wearing dark clothes, about 30 years old, 5'10" tall, and weighed about 165 pounds. She also said that he had thinning blonde hair and a receding hairline. While Lisa could not say if she had seen this man before, she did believe she could identify him if she ever saw him again. And after providing her statement, police stated that they were satisfied that she knew what she was talking about. Police considered Richard Speck, who would later be convicted of the murders of 8 student nurses in Chicago, a 28-year-old used car salesman who was being held for allegedly raping an 8-year-old girl in Portland, Oregon, who happened to be out of town at the attack, and then Mike Boland, an Irish immigrant who lived near the Queen Anne Apartments, worked at SeaTac Airport as a police officer in 1966, and later became a Seattle Police Department officer and then a King County Sheriff's Office. Boland had a penchant for violence, especially if triggered by rejection of some other perceived insult. However, none of these men could be identified as the attacker. Later, Lonnie's sister reported that a grocery store clerk had made efforts to date Lonnie, but she had snubbed him. Apparently, this was in reference to a grocery store near the victim's previous residence when the women lived in the area of Nettleton Apartments prior to moving into the Queen Anne Apartments. Despite a $10,000 reward offered by United Airlines, national media attention, and hundreds of tips, eventually all leads were exhausted and the case went cold. Speculation linking Ted Bundy to the attacks came many years later due to a commonly circulated misconception that Bundy worked at the nearby Queen Anne Hill Safeway grocery store around the same time of Lonnie's murder and Lisa's assault. However, according to the FBI, Bundy did not start working there until nearly 2 years later on April 12, 1968. Further, Bundy's prints did not match any of the fingerprints recovered at the scene. To this day, the 1966 murder of Lonnie Trumbull and the brutal assault on Lisa Wick remains unsolved. And my sources for this particular portion of the story are Hi, I'm Ted Blog, The Unconfirmed Case, Lisa Wick and Lonnie Trumbull, 1966, by Tiffany Jean, November 10th, 2019. And incidentally, I was curious as to what happened to the police officer, Mike Boland, and he apparently shot his Chinese wife in the face in their residence in Bellevue, Washington on May 12th, 2016. She did survive the attack, and then he subsequently died on August 7th, 2017 in an assisted living facility in Modesto, California. So
how do we think it all went down? Okay, well, let's take the Brickas first. First of all, I really do not feel that Linda had an affair with anybody. I don't think that she had an affair with the vet. I think that it's convenient to try and make it, and here we go, we blame women, right? It's like, they must be responsible for their own brutal murder, Oh, anyway, I don't think the vet had anything to do with it. I think that the suicide with his wife was because they were old and failing health and probably didn't have anybody to take care of them. And this was just a convenient exit, let's just out, before we lose each other, was sort of my feeling. I felt like they were, still kind of, they still loved each other. Okay. Even if he had had affairs, I don't think he had an affair with Linda. I really don't. Interestingly though, Sands, did you get this, that this is just a segue, guys, but did you see that they were married on November 25th, 1961, and his name was Jerry? That's Ruth, and that's our parents' anniversary.
I had no idea.
Yeah, they were married exactly a year later. I just thought that was really interesting how this came to us, right? And
Okay.
we've got, some links in there. That we, okay. Well, I'm connecting everything today. So
I'm glad you are.
Like,
thank you for doing that. That's great.
Okay.
Happy anniversary, everybody.
So I don't think that Linda had an affair with anybody. I don't think that her murder was connected to her at all. I think it was connected to Jerry. I think Jerry went to work on Sunday. I think he saw someone doing something that they shouldn't have been doing. And I think that he went home and this gentleman followed him.
Oh my God.
When I was trying to pull in what happened, I felt like this guy appeared at the back door. He had a gun. And this was how he subdued Linda and Jerry. So they went upstairs. He had Linda tape up Jerry, and then he taped her up and said, you have to be quiet or I'm gonna murder you and the whole family. He walked her into Debbie's room, told her to sit there and be quiet. And then he went and murdered Jerry. And this was all to try and save his job, was what I got. Then he came back in, and Linda, in the meantime, was trying to coax Debbie out of the crib, out of her bed, and to flee the house because she knew. And so he caught, poor Debbie was asleep, right? And then so he caught Debbie awake and looking at him. And of course, she could identify who he was, because he knew that they were going to question everybody, right? They're going to question everybody. So he couldn't have left Linda alive, and pulled her into the bedroom, murdered her, had probably, while she was still there to keep her cooperative, right? Put Debbie back in the crib or back into bed, told her to go to sleep, walked Linda back into the bedroom, murdered her, and then came in and killed Debbie. I don't know how you could murder a 4-year-old. I can't even imagine the depravity of that, but that's what he did. And so I think it all had to do with Jerry. Jerry saw something that could have ended someone else's career. And the reason that the tape was removed was because I feel it could be traced back to Monsanto. And the whole thing with the dogs being sedated. Well, this is an agricultural company. They're biotechnology, so of course he's got access to sedatives, right? So that's how I think it went down, really, really sadly and very unfortunately. I know there were some questions around, did he stay the night? I think he did. I think he was trying to clean up the scene of anything that could be put back to him, specifically directing them back to Monsanto. So that's what I feel happened. I don't feel it was connected at all to Lisa or Lonnie. I think it was his own individual, terrible, horrible, awful murder for no good reason.
Is this person still alive?
No. I felt that he was, I really felt like he was in his 50s, late 40s, early 50s, kind of, when this went down. So this was in 66. So he's gone. And I feel like this followed him. I really feel like he probably drank himself to death, or, the guilt of this probably followed him. I think in the moment he was panicked because one witness led to another witness, led to another witness. And I don't think he was prepared for Debbie to be awake when he walked into that bedroom and she saw him and saw how, Debbie was alarmed. That's why she only had one sock on, because she was trying to get out of the bed. And her mom was trying to coax her, run. And she's 4, she's not leaving her mom. So yeah. And I think the gun was used to keep everybody quiet, but he had no intention of pulling the trigger, because that would have alerted neighbors, because they're 15 feet away. So that's why he chose the knife. But I think he got them to go along because he had a gun, and it explains why there was no noise. It explains all of it, right? And so while he's murdering Jerry, he shoves a sock in his mouth so that Linda can't hear him, dying. And to keep her kind of somewhat cooperative until he murdered her. Horrible crime. That poor family. So sad. As for Lisa and Lonnie, we had talked a little bit about this yesterday, I don't know if you had said, there's a suspicion that it could have been someone tied to United Airlines. Or if I had said, I can't remember how that worked out. Probably.
Well, the reason that I thought they might be related is because the officer that Mike Boland, the officer, was a police officer at SeaTac for United Airlines. And if he had been snubbed, as was the suspicion around the assault on the 2 airline stewardesses in Seattle, then potentially, same had happened with Linda, and he was looking for vengeance all the way around.
Right. Yeah. I will tell you, I have a little less of a thread on the killer in this one than I had on the Briccas. I immediately got that it was someone at work at United Airlines, immediately. But every time I try and put it on Mike Boland's shoulders, it wants to bounce off.
Okay.
So I kind of feel like, we had aunts who were we had an uncle who was a pilot for TWA, and we had two aunts that were stewardesses for TWA. And that was a very glamorous, they did not hire people who, were below an 8 or a 10, they hired like really gorgeous people for a reason. So you could kind of see how, I mean, Linda certainly was hired for her looks, right?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that Lisa and Lonnie were also beautiful women. And so you could see someone who probably, wolf whistled or, did something kind of inappropriate, and how they would, kind of, no, okay,
Yeah.
walk on
Yeah.
by. I really felt that someone felt personally snubbed by them. And because that was brutal.
It was.
An 8-pound piece of timber.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Right?
It's amazing that Lisa Wick survived. Honestly, it was her hair curlers that saved her, protected her head. And
Thank
the fact
God.
that he went for the head, whoever it was,
And multiple skulls. I mean, even with the curlers, multiple skull fractures. So when she woke up and was giving a description of the killer, I find that really highly suspect. I don't think she remembers. I think that was a description that was kind of fed to her, or she put it, because it just rings false to me. I honestly, I kind of felt it was a Black man. I kind of felt it was an African-American. That's my feeling, because I keep trying to, put it to a white Irishman, and it wants to bounce off. So it could have been, it could have been Bolin. It could have been him. My radar could be wrong, but I really felt it was someone tied to work who did feel snubbed and wanted to teach the girls a lesson, so to speak. And he did. Honestly, he did.
Wow.
Which is, again, also really, really sad.
Yeah.
But I had less of a when you're reaching into who did it, the mind of the killer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you can encounter the personality, and you can kind of get an assessment of who they were and sort of the description of them. And in pretty much every case that we've done thus far, I've had that sense. But in this particular one, it's elusive. It's like, I can see the smoke, but I can't see the fire kind of thing. I feel like if I had to describe the personality of this guy, he was someone who was a lone wolf, aloof, self-conscious, tired of being discounted and taken for granted and looked down upon. And I don't think that this was his only act of violence either, at all. I think he probably was committing other acts of brutality. I don't know if he was ever caught. I can't really, it's like I can smell him, but I can't see him. So he's a little elusive. He's out there, he's a little elusive. I don't think he's alive. For sure, I don't think he was alive, because I kind of feel like this would have been a man in his 40s, right around that time. So yeah, so that's my take on it. Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
The other thing that I thought was interesting was they have two neighbors named Dick.
Yeah.
It's like Bewitched, right? Everybody's named Dick.
Yeah.
These days it's Rick,
Right.
We've gone away from Dick, and we're now everybody's
Dick is
Rick,
no longer
Richard.
a kind nickname. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
When I was doing some research around the story of the Brickas, one of the things I thought was really interesting was the night that Jerry was murdered, well, the family was murdered. It was kind of a rainy 50-degree day, late September. Weather around the world can be very in flux in the fall. Right. And on that night in particular, there was a airing of a movie. I can't remember. It was a famous film, but it was being aired on television. So everybody was kind of tuning in. There were over 60 million people watching this particular movie that night.
Was it like Gone with the Wind or something?
No, it wasn't. It was a war movie of some kind. I just can't remember what it was.
Okay.
But the fact that everybody kind of A, shut their windows because of the weather, and then B, were pretty much, glued to the TV watching this movie, kind of held the attention. Like the perpetrator was very lucky that he picked the night he picked.
Right.
And then the next day, it's 70 degrees, everybody's got their windows open, everybody's out and about and kind of in each other's business all over again. So it was very
fortuitous on his
fortuitous.
Part.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
the elements kind of played to his favor.
Yeah.
And the thing that's I think is particularly sad is if Jerry just hadn't been such a diligent worker and gone in on a Sunday. I don't think he would have seen what he saw.
Mm.
And I think that it was a light kind of skeleton crew there at Monsanto. And I think he walked in on someone doing something they shouldn't have been doing. You know, I don't know, stealing trade secrets or something. And because he saw it, he probably said, you know, you're going to be in trouble tomorrow. I'm going to tell. And this guy followed him home and then showed up at the back door and was like, hey, can we talk about it? Was invited in.
That's why he was let in. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So Jerry did know him and underestimated him, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So poor family.
Yes.
You know, it's so interesting too, because you know, this was 60 years ago, right? Like almost 60 years ago. And it's still so shocking. It's still so upsetting, you know?
Well, it was, you know, your quintessential 1950s suburban neighborhood where everybody knew everybody and nobody locked their doors. And the police were a skeleton crew, basically, you know, worked 14-hour days. Like there wasn't any crime.
Right.
So the ideal, and then, you know, you had the Cincinnati Strangler running around on the other side of the city. Right. And so people suddenly got very, 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 very fearful. And it kind of changed the culture and the sense of security and the nature of the neighborhood very quickly. And the fact that it's remained unsolved, I think, is what causes people to be, you know, feeling unsafe in that.
Well, if you don't know the cause, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know the why, then it feels totally random and you could be next. It's interesting too, when I was sort of picturing the neighborhood, I kept thinking about Sandy and I used to live way long ago when we were little wee tots in New Canaan, Connecticut. And that's the neighborhood kind of vision that I had, sort of that sort of bucolic kind of setting. And I don't know if that's what this looked like, but like that just kept coming to mind. I think it's that sort of, you know, you have the money and the security, job security to live in a neighborhood like this is more what I got from it. So, well, thank you for your insights on this. Who knows if I'm right, but that's what I got.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, you know.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing about why, you know, how did he get these people subdued when he killed them with the knife? And that was something I couldn't figure out until like I dove in and the gun came up like immediately. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And he wasn't going to shoot him because that would have created noise. So, because he would have had to have shot, you know, all three of them, honestly. Well, at least two. I don't think he was prepared to kill the daughter. I really don't. I think that's the thing that bothered him. All of it should have bothered him, but I think I don't know how you, I don't know how you can stand over a crib and do that to a child. So you kind of hope that there's like a special little corner of the other side where, you know, maybe he's behind bars. I don't know.
Or just stuck in a loop potentially, you know.
Yeah, could be.
Having to relive that over and over and over again.
Yeah, could be. So, so that's it. So that's, are we good?
Yeah, I think so. For next week, given that we're close to Valentine's Day, have a very sad case to talk about.
Of course we do.
Yeah.
If you're not depressed enough on Valentine's Day, tune in.
Tune in, please. Yeah. The case is okay. Anything else you want to say?
No, it's just like listen to our depressing podcast. Yeah, exactly.
Be sure to tune in for more murder and mayhem. And the demise of yet another child.
Yeah, bring your box of Kleenex.
Next week's case is about Asha Degree. She was a 9-year-old fourth grader. I forget what state, but she disappeared.
Oh man.
And is still missing. And she disappeared on Valentine's Day.
That's the one you told. Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, guys, this case is that Sandy's been working on is super fascinating. Yeah, and I kind of think I have a little bit of it figured out, but I'll dive a little bit deeper. So yeah, we'll see. All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, guys, it's been fun chatting at you from atop my soapbox and then down on the ground and then back up on my soapbox and then down on the ground. And, you know, truly, guys, 99.999% of you are wonderful and fabulous, and I love you. I have haters though, like everybody does, right? Everybody does. And they just tend to be particularly vicious around me. And I don't know why. I've talked to other authors and I'm like, do you have people emailing you saying this? And they look at me and they're like, no. Like, what? I'm like, yeah, fills up my inbox, So I don't know, maybe they think, yeah, they can get under my skin, and they do a little bit, because it's just mean for no reason. So, but
I just say,
99.99
let's be more Betty White. Let's just be more like Betty.
Spread some love.
Be like Betty.
Spread some love. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to spread it to me. I'm not asking you to spread it to me. I'm asking you to spread it to someone else. Take the hate that you want to direct to me and direct love to someone else. Turn that energy around. Just, send it back out the door, is my advice. But anyway, I love 99.9999% of you. You guys have been really, really, really good to me. And I appreciate you all so much. So thank you for all your support over the years, and your loyalty. It means a lot to me. So, and on a positive.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
You're on a roll. Why?
I don't know. I'm just like digging
Here's
for
me.
anything.
Be like Betty. And you're like, and then you're the other person.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Anyway, you can tell which one of us between Sandy and I, gets like the hot head, and the other one's just like calm, just like, okay.
I drink heavily. That's why. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I am tonight too. Oh gosh, I have a new cocktail that I'm going to try out.
All right, I'm going to Pilates, so I will see you next week. Thank you very much,
honey. I love you. Hey, if you want to know, how to book an appointment, how to a little bit about me, more about the books, et cetera, go to victorialaurie.com. You can find all the good stuff there. And I have one fabulous fan who keeps putting this out in the comments on YouTube. If you're watching this, please click the like button, because it really, really helps the algorithms. And you can do that if you wanted to write a review on like Apple or YouTube or wherever. That also helps the algorithm. So I know it's extra work. Sorry. But yeah. Okay, Sans, I love you, and I will see you next week.
Sounds great. Thanks,
all right, guys,
everyone.
take care. Have a good one.